Happy New Year. Out walking the kids. Ooh, I just found something. I lost it yesterday. Okay, I'm going to share it with you. My clamp on. I'm walking with only one clamp on. It's really icy out here, and I'm not going to stop this live to put that on. I'm just going to put that around my difficult trying to put on a mitten, hold the clamp on. Talk to you guys. Let me know if you are at home today. Did you take today off because yesterday was New Year's Day? And here's to an amazing 2026 for everybody. Okay, I don't know if the title of this live came up for you, but I titled the live, I did something this week that I haven't done in 50 years. And I want to tell you what that was. And it has to do with dog training in a roundabout way. So, in order to get the full story, I need to go back 50 years. I used to read Nancy Drew, and no, I did not get a new Nancy Drew novel. But about, I don't know, 52 years ago, maybe 53 years ago, when I would read a book, somewhere in the first 2 minutes, sometimes it would take 15 minutes, but the words would grow and fill the whole page. So I had to read one word at a time, and I had to wait until the word I was reading shrunk small again. I was about 12 at the time when this started happening to me. And I tried to do a lot of things. Like I tried to put toilet paper in one eye lens, like I wore glasses, put toilet paper so that I could only read out of one eye. Then I tried the other eye. Like I did a lot of experimenting, which I'm kind of proud that back then I was still very innovative. Nothing helped. The words would grow and then they'd shrink. I've come to learn that has to do with being dyslexic, but back then, I don't even know if dyslexia was a thing. Back in whenever, that would have been in the early 70s maybe, mid 70s. So my mom took me to an eye doctor, and it was a very pivotal moment for me. I remember the doctor did his examination. My mom wasn't in the room. She explained what was happening. And he put his hand on my knee, 12-year-old me. He looked me right in the eye and he said, "What would you say if I told you there's nothing wrong with your eyes?" And he was implying I was lying. And I never told another person what was going on. It was very, very difficult to read. Every time I read, that happened. And it wasn't until I started, and so what happened was I stopped reading fiction. I only read things I had to read. So I would read one fiction novel a year for English in high school, only because I had to, and it was a problem. When I got to university, the first year university, I was watching with everybody in my dorm 60 Minutes, and they were talking about dyslexia, which none of us had ever heard of. And they said, for some people, when they have dyslexia and they try to read, the words fall off the page. For others, the words grow big, and then they get small again as they try to read. Holy crap. I had never told another soul after that eye doctor did what he did. And on 60 Minutes, they said if you take different colored film or get different colored glasses, it will stop this from happening. So for me, it was blue and yellow, I believe. It was purple and yellow. The films that I could put over my books when I read in university. And I made a kind of a, I promised myself back then, when I graduated from university, I would never read another book. And I actually did it until 10 years later when my friend Greg Louganis asked me to read his autobiography. And that got me reading again. And I do read. I honestly say I do mostly books, audiobooks, but I always buy the hard copy and I put the audio copy on, which helps me to read easier. So, brings me back to what I did this week that I hadn't done in 50 years. I get books sent to me on the regular. People asking me to read their books. Mostly they're about dog training, but they could be a story about dogs. And honestly, sometimes I read the first page and I have all the good intentions to read these people's books, but I don't. I have more books on my to-read pile than I can read in my lifetime, and I plan on living to be 135. So, this past week, I got a parcel from Florida from somebody who was in our recallers program, who she said, I wrote 2 books, and she sent them to me, and I would love for you to read them and give me a shout out if that's appropriate. They were fiction books. Haven't read fiction since Nancy Drew, other than the few that I had to read in high school. I couldn't put it down. I read it cover to cover in one day. I was obsessed. It was such a good book. It was written for young adults. And it was a story of a teen who had lost her parents in a car crash and got a rescue dog, and the story of her training this rescue dog. So it does a little bit demonize balance training, but there's a lot of reinforcement-based training in there as well. It's not lessons on how to train. It's just a story, a fiction. I think you all should read it, especially if you actually like fiction. The book is called Clara's Wish, and it's by Nell Dory Townsend, which is her pen name. And she has, I actually started reading her second book. She sent me 2 books, and I have stuff I'm supposed to do. But it's the holiday, so I'm reading fiction. Here I am reading fiction. You can get it on Amazon. I'm sure Nell would not mind me saying that she is not a young person. And it wasn't until I finished the book that I read in the back in her acknowledgments that she gave me a shout out. That's not why I read it. I did not know that until I'd finished reading it, and I wanted to know if there was more about her, because here's what happened. The packaging and the note she wrote got thrown away, so I couldn't write her to thank her because her real name is not Nell Dory Townsend. So if you are seeing this live, this is your thank you, because I feel badly that it got thrown out. Yes, Clara's Wish, Melissa, and it is on Amazon, and I did write a review. I didn't post the review yet because this is a kind of a funny story. Kim was making fun of me about how obsessed I was with this book, because she obviously has never seen me read a fiction book before. And when I say I couldn't put it down, I was walking through the kitchen reading it. The Raptors were playing basketball, and I put it on mute so I could continue reading it. And so she took a picture of me walking and reading, and I want to get that picture and post it with my review, because I don't know. I mean, I think it was a great book. It was intended for younger people, so if you have any junior handler, young people in your life, please gift them the book or both books. I just think it would be an amazing thing for somebody who has an interest in dogs or is a young person who's training the dogs to read. It is cold here, yeah. I think the feels like temperature is minus 15. And here I am with a bare hand to hold my phone to talk to you. Everybody's got coats on. Maybe Swaggy, it'll cook. Here, bud. Swaggy's wearing his fashionable rose-colored coat today. There we go. Thank you, Melissa, for dropping that Amazon link in there. Anyway, read it or just start reading it and come on back and comment on this. Is it because I just have not read fiction for 50 years is that why I was that obsessed with this book? Or do you think it's a really good book too? So there's only, I think, 14 Amazon reviews on there. So give her an Amazon review. I mean, I just think it's a unique book. It's not a dog training book, but it's a book that will enlighten people about how to meet a dog's emotional needs through training. I gotta put this glove on. My hand is numb from trying to hold this phone. The temperature and the feels like temperature are two different things. Because the wind is brutal, the feels like temperature is a lot colder than the actual temperature. So the book is a story about this young girl whose parents are killed in a car accident, and she has to leave Pennsylvania and live with her only surviving relatives while her brother's in college and her grandparents. And she's not meeting friends in school, in the new school, and then she was going through an old photo album with her grandmother and saw a picture of her father with a dog, and she didn't know her father at one time owned a dog. So her grandmother told her about the story, and then she couldn't stop thinking about a dog, so her grandparents arranged for her to do some volunteer work at a local shelter. And she fell in love with a dog that wouldn't have anything to do with her because he was so fearful. Anyway, it's a great story. It's a great story. I cried. Okay, that's another thing. If you know anything about me, for whatever reason, emotional trauma in my childhood, I cannot cry. So I can probably count on one hand how many times I've cried with other people around. Okay, taking apart when my husband passed away. So I cried in the middle of this book. Not at the end, in the middle. Like, it's just that kind of a book. You laugh, you cry, it's a great book. So, again, read it and let me know. Is it just Susan who's... I still am not going to read fiction because, again, I have so many books. I love reading about behavior. I love reading about both human and dog behavior, and along the same lines about the mental aspect of sport. And I love reading about fitness and health. So those are my go-to. Business. I read business books too. So there's so many of those books that I have on the go that I'm reading that I just don't make room for fiction. So, oh my gosh, this wind is brutal. It's just brutal. Come on, old guy. I know it's cold. I'll put him in after one round. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share this morning. Share this live to help this lovely author I don't know that there's ever been a book like this that gives you some dog training insight, but it's a story. It's such a great idea. Anyway, yeah, share this live. And the book again is called Clara's Wish. And then the people that read that book loved it so much she wrote a follow-up book. I think it should be a series. And you know what put me to mind of? Back in my Nancy Drew reading days, I also read the book, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And because that book, Judy Blume's book, was about a girl who was kind of an introvert and alone. This woman was also, this young girl in the story was also an introvert and a bit of a loner. So that's what it put it to mind of. I thought it was, yeah, as you can tell, I just thought it was an amazing book and that anybody should read it and gift it. Gift it to young people who have an interest in dogs. I think it's terrific. Is my door wide open? Crap. My front door isn't latching these days. And I think it's wide open. Okay, that's it for now. Happy 2026. And I hope this is the absolute best year ever for each and every one of you. And your dogs. We'll see you.